Educate for a creative society. I'm not sure I can do this, because every time I talk about education, I just want to stand in front of you and weep, because it's so pathetic what we do. We live in a world that begs for creativity, and what do? When the 9-year-old boy gets out of his seat inappropriately in the 4th grade, we send him to the school nurse and say, dose the lad with Ritalin from now until death. Jordan Ian wrote a marvelous book on creativity called Aha. He tells a story that's repeated, alas, 1 million times a day in this country while school is in session. My wife and I went to a kindergarten parent-teacher conference and were informed that our budding refrigerator artist, Christopher, would be receiving a grade of unsatisfactory in art. We were shocked. How could any child, let alone our child, receive a poor grade in art at such a young age? His teacher informed us that he had refused to color within the lines, which was a state requirement for demonstrating grade-level motor skills. Is that the definition of tragedy or not? Because, see, here's the point. The Nomura Research Institute did a study a while back that said, of course, first, as we all know, we had the age of agriculture, now largely behind us. Then the age in the industrial age, also fading into the dust. Then the age of information intensification in which we are currently engaged. But what they also said at Nomura is we are rapidly moving into the age of creation intensification. I mean, look, our education system is sometimes called the Ford model of education. That is, we nail facts into students' heads. And there's nothing wrong with it if the goal is to employ somebody for 40 years in a Ford Motor Company Model A factory, right? Because the deal is, park your brains at the door, dude. Work your 9 hours, spend your money at the bar, have a good sleep off, and then do the same thing over again. But in a world where all economic value comes from creativity and imagination, then this doesn't work. There was a cover story in Fortune magazine a year or two ago on chief executive officers who had dyslexia. And of course, until recently, dyslexics were treated like dirt in the school system. And the guy who ran Kinko's was a dyslexic. And I loved this. When he was being just battered and bruised in school, his mother said to him, not to worry, Paul. In the long run, the A students work for the B students. The C students run the businesses. And the D students get the buildings named after them. So I'm going to give you a piece of practical advice, which, of course, is part of the reason you come here. Never, ever, ever, for the rest of your working life, hire someone who had a grade point average of 4.0. Ever. What is the definition of 4.0? Buys the act. Has been coloring within the lines since the age of 5. Now, I don't want a 2.0 because that means you're either lazy or stupid or both. But at least give me, 3.5 is okay because that says at least he was screwing around a little bit. 4.0 says this person does not screw around. Tom Jefferson, Al Hamilton, and Georgie Washington, they were screwing around. This was a little dinky-doo-dippy country, and they said, let's go after this George dude. Now, that was not smart. If George and Alex and Tommy the Jeff had had 4.0 grade point averages, they would not have started that revolution. The second thing I will do upon election as your president is I will issue an edict immediately to close all business schools. If there is ever a tragic waste of time in a human being's time, and I got one of these suckers, it's called the MBA. What did we say on that slide a minute ago? It is the age of creation intensification, right? Design Management Institute's magazine about 2 summers ago did an analysis of the top 15 business school programs in the United States. Design as a core course, 0. Creativity as a core course, 0. Innovation as a core course, 0. That is pathetic, sick. But I will say this, at least there's a good reason. One dean was quoted as saying, the reason we don't teach that stuff is it's really hard. Make dreams come true. We have a different business proposition that's arising. We used to make these things called products. Now they make great things called products all over the world. And we've got to change with the times. 2 Swedish business professors, Kjell Nordstrom and Jonas Ritterstrahl, wrote a book called Funky Business. The Surplus Society is a surplus of similar companies employing similar people with similar educational backgrounds, coming up with similar ideas, producing similar things with similar prices and similar quality. So how do you break out of the trap? Joe Pine and Jim Gilmore wrote a book called The Experience Economy, and they say there is an experience ladder, raw materials at the bottom, goods next, services next, and experiences at the top. Pine and Gilmore put it this way as their basic hypothesis: experiences are as distinct from services as services are from goods. 2 examples. Jean-Marie Drew, Chief Executive Officer of the big ad agency TBWA Chiat, Club Med is more than just a resort. It is a means of rediscovering oneself, of inventing an entirely new me. Let's take one other example. There is fabulous news in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And that news is that there is not a single living human being who works for Harley-Davidson who is stupid enough to think that they make motorcycles. As one of the top 5 officers at Harley put it, what we sell is the ability for a 43-year-old accountant to dress in black leather, ride through small towns, and have people be afraid of him. I love that. I love it for 2 reasons. I love it because it wasn't said by the editor of Motorcycle Week. It was said by one of the top 5 Harley officers suggesting they know precisely what they're up to. And the second thing I love it for is that it adds up to money in the bank. The former Harley chief executive, Rich Tierlink, is a good friend of mine. I had dinner with him a while back. He said, Tom, it took me 8 long years of trying to convince Wall Street that we were not a machinery manufacturer. We are a lifestyle company. And he said, once we made that sale on Wall Street, the stock market value of Harley-Davidson went up by approximately $15 billion. Is there any limit? Apparently not. 2 Boston Consulting Group authors wrote a book called Trading Up. And here's what they discovered. Whether you own a Mercedes or whether you own a Hyundai, more and more people are spending large sums of money buying things they don't care about at the Walmarts of the world. But what they do care about, whether they're driving a Mercedes or a Hyundai, they want to buy this is incredible. Washing machines under $400 saw their market share go up from 41 to 50%. Washing machines of the Duet variety, that is those above $600, saw their market share almost double in 4 years. And God help the poor souls who don't know whether they are fish or fowl, right? Because look at the center. The $400 to $600 washing machines, in fact, went down, tumbled down in share from 49 to 32%. And it's not just washing machines, motorcycles, and vacations. It's equally true in business services. They are quaking in Memphis because of the effectiveness of the repositioning of the brand called UPS. UPS wants you to forget the truck. They want you to dial 1-800-UPS, and you will never have another supply chain worry as long as you live. They have become a salesperson of experience, not 70,000 brown trucks driven by guys wearing brown shorts. And then you notch it up to what one fellow, Jean-Luigi Longinati Buttoni, former chief executive officer of Ferrari North America, calls dream marketing. He coined this nasty term called dreamketing, but it's a lovely idea. Dream marketing, touching the client's dreams, again, from washing machines in the consumer goods world to UPS in the business services world. The art of telling stories and entertaining, promoting the dream, not the product. Build the brand around the main dream, build the buzz, build the hype, build the cult. And so I'm therefore left with a revision of Mr. Pine and Mr. Gilmore's ladder. And once again, whether you are selling business services, even as an internal chief financial officer of a $30 million company, we start with raw materials, we go to goods, we go to services, we go to experiences, and at the top is dream fulfillment. In a new economy where 14 million service jobs are going offshore and microprocessors will replace virtually all the rest of us, we have got to figure something out to do for a living.